It is all eyes on Wrestlemania now as Elimination Chamber is done and over with. We have no other stops on the road to WrestleMania, which is a good thing in my opinion. In the past, we've had other random pay-per-views like Fastlane, and I think there was one other as well. I don't remember the exact name of it, but Fastlane was definitely one of them. I remember that one because I attended a pay-per-view in Ohio a few years back on a random road trip. That's a whole nother story. But welcome back, guys. We are here for the Elimination Chamber 2022 review show. Like I said, the Elimination Chamber is done and over with now, and there was maybe a few noteworthy things that came out of the show. A lot of it was pretty predictable with the outcome, which is for a good thing for the most part. I was not really feeling the main event, which we'll obviously get into in a little bit here. But if you are tuning in now, thank you first off. I hope you guys are having an awesome weekend so far. And I'm just going to start with the, I guess, big news right off the bat, being Brock Lesnar is the new WWE Champion once again, which apparently is for his 10th time in his career. I didn't even realize he had gotten to that high up there, to be honest with you, with this title reigns, but obviously it makes sense, but man, 10 times. So kudos to him, it's, say what you want about Brock Lesnar, but I've really been enjoying this version of him, and like I had said on the previous couple shows now, I wanted to do a Soul Outside of the Ring show, which I still may try to get into this weekend, and obviously add more to it at this point, but he did an awesome interview with Pat McAfee a few days ago. Maybe I believe it was maybe actually on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was right before Monday Night Raw. I could be wrong, but it was definitely obviously in person. It was on Pat McAfee's YouTube show that he does Monday through Friday, and you guys, I believe it was maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes, something like that. You guys gotta go check it out. The first 2 minutes, I'm not gonna give it away, but Brock Lesnar destroys an item in Pat McAfee's office, and Pat McAfee just loses his shit. It was so entertaining. You guys definitely gotta go check it out. And that is if you're a Pat McAfee fan. I realized, which I didn't even realize, there's apparently a lot of hate out there for Pat McAfee, which, whatever, to each their own, but I'm a really big Pat McAfee fan, so if you are too, I would recommend going and checking out his interview with Brock Lesnar. But that being said, again, Pat McAfee, Brock Lesnar is our WWE champion once again, and I'm not a fan of it, to be honest with you. As I say, I'm really enjoying this version of Brock Lesnar and this run of Brock. I am, but he didn't need to win the title, and it's just, for me personally, it's kind of frustrating with the whole Royal Rumble victory he already had and things like that, which we'll, like I said, get into in the main event. But I would be remiss if we didn't start off with at least addressing the new champion that we have that was crowned coming out of the Saudi Arabia show here, hosting Elimination Chamber. But yeah, we'll get right into the card. Full disclosure, I did not see the pre-show, so I'm not going to comment on it really, because I can't comment on something I didn't see. But I will just address it. It was Rey Mysterio versus The Miz, which, looking back on it, makes sense, I guess, with it being on the pre-show. It's kind of sad, with Rey Mysterio being a legend and all that, and for that matter, The Miz too. Like the Miz just a few months ago was your WWE champion as well, so it's kind of crazy to see these two guys on the pre-show, but it is what it is. I don't even know if it's really that big of a deal at this point, but apparently Rey Mysterio defeated The Miz. Some people said it was a pretty decent match. I saw some people on Twitter say it was pretty forgettable, so form your own opinion there. Like I said, I can't really comment much on it. I was not home to see that, but the pay-per-view, or I'm sorry, not pay-per-view, the PLE itself opened up with Roman Reigns, your Universal Champion, going against Goldberg, which should be his last match, unless, like I said on the previous show, if he ended up signing either an extension or a new contract or anything like that, which I don't believe anyone has reported that he has as of yet. So as of right now, and at least as of this recording, Goldberg is no more, which to me personally, I'm fine with. He served his purpose, and I think WWE made the right call here, obviously. The match was fine, it was what it was. I kind of was not expecting the finish that they went with, to be honest with you. I was expecting maybe the spear to be the final nail in Goldberg's coffin, especially with how they had played it up, thinking back to their WrestleMania hype a few years back when they were supposed to have their match before things obviously changed there. And ended up having Goldberg getting locked into the guillotine choke and ended up passing out with the referee having to stop the match. So, like I said, I was kind of surprised they went with that route, but I guess in a way they were trying to protect Goldberg if he ever does need to come back. So maybe Goldberg can say that, oh, well, you never pinned me, blah, blah, blah. And again, not advocating for that at all. But, I'm not a Goldberg hater, but I don't think Goldberg needs to be, first of all, in the title picture. I understood why they did it this time, and I even advocated for it. It made sense in this situation, but with the track record of Goldberg just getting title match after title match without even really needing to do anything at all except for just returning. And this isn't against Goldberg himself. It's the story and the lack thereof going into it. So it's not even necessarily against him specifically. It's just the whole concept and the idea around it itself. So that's just kind of my, I guess, gripe with it. But again, this match was fine. It wasn't horrible. Thank God everyone got in and got out with no injuries and things like that. I think Goldberg at some point did cut his head open, but it wasn't anything crazy. It was just like a scrape or something at the top of his head. But I don't really know at what point that happened. But I did see that it was somewhat towards the end of the match itself, but again, it wasn't anything crazy or anything like that. But again, I'm happy that this match was what it was. It was kind of exactly what I was expecting, besides the ending just the ending being the choke out, I guess, and like I said, instead of the spear itself. But I'm happy that it was pretty much a clean victory, in that regard, and we can kind of move on for this and really focus on WrestleMania. And with Brock Lesnar being the WWE champion now, they still haven't said whether it's a unification match or if it is just going to be like a winner take all. So we can't really comment too much on that, but we obviously know it's going to be Reigns and Lesnar. So there's so much about that, guys, which I'll like I said, I'll kind of get into more once I get to the main event. But Roman Reigns has said in the past that if he is not going to main event the show, then he's going to open the show, and he again lived up to that. I will say, too, really quick before we move on to the next match, that the reaction that Roman Reigns got when he came out, it was just star level. Like, this dude is truly a star, and it's cool to see when WWE does shows outside of the U.S., and especially now with it being so hard, too, with the pandemic, with the travel restrictions and everything like that. So to see him in a completely different environment, and to see the powerful response that he gets outside of the U.S. It's pretty cool, and it just kind of solidifies the fact that Roman is the man, like whether you love him or you hate him, and if you agree or disagree with everything. And again, it's just really cool to see and just kind of have that solidified as well. And I don't think that there's ever any doubt, don't get me wrong, and not that I even doubted it, but it's just cool to see the different reaction that Roman Reigns gets than kind of anyone else, really, besides, of course, like your Brock Lesnar's and your legacy stars, but he's kind of up there now, right? And I don't know, it's a weird thing to be witnessing with how the progression of his character has gone over the past 10 years now, which is crazy to think it's been that long. But that'll maybe be a different show at some point, maybe just kind of looking back on the trajectory of Roman Reigns' career and path, and just his beginning in NXT to where he's at now. It's kind of, especially within the 2015, 14, 15, 16, I would say, era as well. So that'll be a discussion for a different day, but it was just really something that kind of stood out to me. And again, like his whole entrance and the look and the vibe of it, just, he's the man. And it's just really refreshing to see. And again, too, it's not like he's getting like a strong babyface reaction during the match itself, but that initial response and just that emotion that it evokes from the crowd the second his music hits and when he first appears and makes his way out, it's just cool to see. But next up, we had the first Elimination Chamber match of the night, which was the women's match featuring Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Doudrop, Rhea Ripley, Nikki ASH, and Alexa Bliss. First thing I'm going to say that stood out to me was there's just so many things I could say about it, but I'm not going to. But it was the swing, man. The swing in the chamber. Like I was really hoping that Alexa Bliss was gonna come back and be different. It was just something I was kind of looking forward to. Like I don't really know what I was expecting, but not the exact same Alexa Bliss that we got when she left. I'm willing to wait and let it play out some more, and I'm hoping, character-wise, of course, she goes back to therapy and maybe is complaining that she lost the match, and this kind of just adds another chapter and another layer to that. But I did not like that at all, to be honest with you guys. It wasn't a big thing that really, like, made me hate the match or anything like that, but it was the first thing that stood out, besides Rhea Ripley. I mean, my God, like, she just... The visual of her and her gear and the makeup and just the total package that she was when she came out and doing the pull-ups in the chamber pod itself, she just looked like a badass. And if they don't push her substantially after WrestleMania season, I don't know what their problem is, you know? Like they have money just sitting there waiting to be made with her. And like I said in the preview show, I hope that, as much as I love Becky Lynch, that Bianca Belair wins at WrestleMania and they start the feud with Rhea Ripley, you know? Like, I feel like that could be a good, substantial feud that eventually culminates at SummerSlam, you know? I feel like you can get a good few matches out of it, but have, like, the rubber match if you need to, or something like that at SummerSlam itself. But I'll put a little bit more thought into that once we get closer to if and when that does happen. But the chamber match itself was okay. Nothing really stood out in it to me, to be honest with you. At least in regards to utilization of the chamber itself, it was fine. You know, like I didn't hate this match, but I didn't really love it. You know, there were some moments in the match where I thought, for instance, with Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH, I like that. Nikki was scared when she realized that Rhea Ripley was about to exit her pod and obviously come after her. And I'm happy that Rhea got the elimination on Nikki ASH and there wasn't a long back and forth or any like bullshit, really. It was Nikki, or I'm sorry, it was Rhea getting her revenge and kind of putting a final nail in that chapter and being done with it. So Nikki ASH can go off and do whatever she's going to do. And like I said earlier, hopefully this is the start of a big push and a nice focus on Rhea Ripley herself and as a singles wrestler, and not having to be thrown in a tag team or with a superhero or anything like that. Just doing whatever the fuck she needs to do to be the champion at some point, you know? Like, yeah, she's still young or whatever, but it's almost time, you know? I feel once Bianca Belair has her moment, I feel like that's going to be a solid feud. And I feel like this is a feud that they can come back to many times in the future, because I just, for whatever reason, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair have dope chemistry together. And you can just, when you look at them, you obviously see the future of I think, the women's division, but it's just, there's something else. There's like a unique chemistry that they have, and I would love to see like a long-term story with these guys. Well, not guys literally, obviously, but with these two females. But you know, I don't know. Like I'm just excited to see, hopefully, Rhea get the attention that she deserves. Of course, she obviously was eliminated by Bianca here. But again, with that, I'm fine with that. You know, obviously the focus here, it wasn't Rhea Ripley winning. And since she's not, I would prefer to have Bianca eliminate her, as much as it sucks, you know. But it makes sense. And then it's just another thing that you can kind of call back to if needed in the future. But yeah, I wasn't really expecting Alexa Bliss to be in the final two. I think my prediction was going to be with the final two being Ripley and Bellaire, but no surprise here. Bianca Belair ends up winning the chamber match itself. The reaction wasn't really as strong as I kind of expected, though. I thought it was going to be like a huge celebration, you know, like I don't know. So maybe when she comes back over here in the stage proper, it'll be kind of different, and the hype and the build will actually start. And I don't think that was anything major or like a bad sign or anything, but I was kind of expecting more of like a celebration or like just a bigger eruption at the end of it. But again, I'm happy they didn't do anything crazy and nothing stupid and try to like swerve us or anything like that, and just went with the obvious choice here with it being Bianca Belair. So that leads us to WrestleMania, and we have another official match that we can throw on the card, with it being Becky Lynch defending her title against I guess I kind of spoiled the later match there, but if you're listening to this, you probably already know at that point, and you're coming here for the results anyway. So, but it is official that Bianca Belair is going to be at WrestleMania. But the next match that we ended up having on the card was Ronda Rousey and Naomi versus Charlotte Flair and Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville came out again with her arm in the sling, and the whole thing with this match was that Ronda Rousey had to have one arm tied behind her back because she said that she could beat Sonya Deville like that. So here we go. And Ronda ended up coming out in her judo gi for the match itself, so that was pretty cool. It wasn't really anything much, and I hate to say it, I was kind of bored with it. And I think the star of this match, quite frankly, was Naomi again. Naomi just shined. Loved her gear again, so shout out to her. I know I could be mistaken, but I think at one point she was kind of contributing to making her gear and stuff like that too. So if she had any part of that, or whoever did for that matter, shout out to them, because it looked really cool. So but the match itself was fine. It was just essentially to highlight Naomi and, well, Ronda Rousey more so, but Naomi as well. But I'm happy about that, and I think that was again the obvious choice, which I don't really think anyone had money on Flair and Sonya Deville winning here. But like I was gonna say, another obvious choice, but something that they needed to do the obvious thing here. So kudos to them for making the right decision again, with Ronda Rousey and Naomi getting the W here. The next match on the card we had was Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss, with, of course, Happy Corbin accompanying him to ringside. This was a Falls Count Anywhere match, and the scariest moment in this match, I'm just going to get right to it, and that's probably going to stand out, unfortunately, more so than anything else, rather, was there was a specific moment, I think towards the middle, maybe towards the latter part of the match itself, where McIntyre and Madcap Moss, of course, were in the ring, and McIntyre hit a reverse Alabama slam that sent Moss, like, literally crashing on the top of his head, right? Like, if you didn't see the match, at least try to find, like, a 30, 45 second clip of it on Twitter or something like that, because, or at least I'm pretty sure there's a still shot of it. It was really scary. It kind of took me out of the rest of the match itself. Thank God he's okay, because dude literally landed right on top of his head. Like, it was scary shit. So you have to check it out just to really get a true understanding for what happened here. But again, nothing really crazy or major stood out here besides that, of course. And shout out to Moss for being able to finish the match and being okay. I'm sure he's going to be very, very sore, and especially on that long flight back. I think it's like, 17, 18 hours or something crazy. So I hope he is okay, for the most part, and I hope he's able to get some sleep and just whatever he needs at that point. And I'm sure that the second he got to the back, that they're taking care of him and looking into him and all that stuff. So again, no surprise here, Drew McIntyre ended up picking up the W, and it was pretty obvious that it's setting up a match between McIntyre and Baron Corbin, which I'm sure at this point is going to be at WrestleMania. So again, like I said yesterday, it is what it is. I'm not really going to get into it too much here until it is made official, and then we can kind of break it down then. But no surprise here, McIntyre took the W. But again, I'm just super, super happy that Madcap Moss is okay, because that was a scary, scary move and moment in the match. Next up on the card, we had the Raw Women's Championship match, which is, of course, your champion being Becky Lynch, Big Time Bex. And side note, before I continue. The graphic that they use for Becky, like with that big version of her head, like the cartoon head, it's really kind of fucking creepy. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. Let me know how you feel about that, or if it's just me. But I'm just not feeling it. I know it's nothing new, but it's just every time I see it, I'm just like, why? Like, who thought this was like a good idea? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm like out of style, out of touch, or whatever. But let me know what you guys think about it. But of course, like I said, Becky Lynch is your Raw Women's Champion coming into the match, facing off against Lita. And I thought this match was very good. I thought, especially Lita, I think they said she's 46 or something like that, or I read that somewhere. I'm sure they didn't say it on TV, but Lita did her thing, especially thinking of health-wise, everything that she's been through in the past. I think she really showed she's still got it, and if she really does want to come back for a small run, whether that be in like 6 months to a year or whatever, and I'm not saying she needs to be the champion or anything like that, but I think she did very well, and I think she more than held her own. I wasn't really thrilled with the ending, to be honest with you guys. And I only say that just because I think the manhandle slam that Becky Lynch hit to win the match itself was just a little weaker. I think the one that she hit earlier in the match was much more impactful. But that's just me kind of nitpicking there. But the match itself, as a whole, I think it was pretty well done. And again, shout out to Lita. She definitely, like I said, more than held her own here. And I personally would love to see her kind of come back for maybe a 6 month to maybe a year, maybe if you can get a little bit more, get as much as you can get, right? Out of Lita, but she didn't shit the bed here or anything like that. So I think, if you have the opportunity to, and she's obviously in great shape and she's willing to travel, right? Like making this journey itself. And again, it's not something like you would need to see her every week or anything like that, but I think you could really get something out of her or get more big time matches out of her going forward. So I think, hey, if you have the opportunity to, why not? So again, this match was pretty good. And again, no surprise here with Becky Lynch retaining the title. And like I said earlier, to confirm the match that we kind of all expected once we found out Ronda Rousey's fate, which is Becky Lynch defending her title against Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, which I'm very much looking forward to. I think that's going to be a very, very good match. And I'm very much looking forward to kind of breaking it down further in the future. So this WrestleMania card is shaping up to be, fine. And again, something that we all expected, but I think we're going to end up getting good quality matches out of it. So we'll of course get into WrestleMania once we get closer to it, but it's shaping up finally, and it's fun to finally be on the road officially to WrestleMania. But moving on here on the card, we were supposed to have a SmackDown Tag Team Championship match, which of course your champions are the Usos, who would be defending against the Viking Raiders, but the Usos ended up attacking the Raiders before the match could even start. And apparently the beatdown was so major and so devastating that the match could not start. So the Usos ended up, of course, retaining their titles due to not even being able to wrestle the match itself because the Viking Raiders were so incapacitated. So, yeah, it whatever, like I myself had said, I wasn't really much looking forward to the match itself just because of the story and all the bullshit, I'm not going to get into it. But, yeah, it is what it is, I'm not going to spend much time on it. I could, and I was debating on whether I was going to, but I'm just going to move on for the sake of time here. But that led to our WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match, which has your champion, Bobby Lashley, defending against Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, Matt Riddle, Austin Theory, and AJ Styles. We had Austin Theory and Rollins opening the match, which I was more than okay with. Just seeing the little mannerisms and the way they played off of each other, for whatever reason, the first 2 minutes, I believe it was, because I believe that's what they had changed the interval to in regards to when the next entrant would be released from their pod. So Rollins and Theory had about 2 minutes or so to start off the match, and just seeing Theory's mannerisms and how he played off of Rollins and how you could tell he was confident in what he was doing. It was cool to see. And again, it was nothing major, but it was just the little things that he was doing that I, for whatever reason, picked up on more so today than other days. But Theory is going to be a star one day, guys. And like I said, I give him 2 years max before he's in the main event. Probably sooner than that, though, to be honest with you guys. But this match itself was okay, but I will say once it took a turn and once the major talking point, I'm sure that's going to be going forward, happened in the match, it just really took me out of it. So I'm just going to kind of get right to that point, to be honest with you guys, because like I said, once Bobby Lashley got taken out of the match, I was just really deflated. There was a point in the match where Rollins was attacking Austin Theory and did a buckle bomb onto Theory through the plexiglass that was containing Bobby Lashley. Obviously, it was Bobby Lashley's pod. So I guess the impact from the plexiglass sent Bobby Lashley from what they said, sent Bobby Lashley into the metal beam and caused him to smack his head on the beam, therefore incapacitating Bobby Lashley and making it to where he cannot even compete in the match itself. He ended up being escorted to the back, and then I think it was like 5 minutes later or so, Michael Cole said there was breaking news, and Bobby Lashley was under concussion protocol and would not be returning to the match. So we are guaranteed to have a new champion. And once that announcement was made, I, along with I'm sure everyone else watching, knew that it was only a matter of time before Brock Lesnar was winning the match. And I was so, I'm not going to say mad because it wasn't that strong, but irritated because, like I'd said with Matt on the WWE podcast, shout out to them, when we did, I believe it was the Rumble prediction show, when I was speaking to him, I said that I could see Brock Lesnar just like because I'm pretty sure that was his pick, and I agreed with him that it's not going to surprise me if and when he does win, but that wasn't my pick because I didn't think he needed to win. Obviously he did win, so the fact that he even injected himself in this match, he didn't need to. You win the Royal Rumble match, you guarantee your spot at WrestleMania, right? That's literally the whole point. Why would you want to go through the chamber match? But okay, let's just say that you do for shits and giggles, right? Because you love to fight, you've never been in one in the past, which he hadn't. So fine, whatever, you want to fight, cool. Get your bag, bro, I don't care. But what I do care about is Bobby Lashley and the way he's being presented again. Yes, you can say that and I will give maybe a few, I guess, brownie points in a way if you wanna go that route and say that you saved him, yes, but that it still doesn't take away from the fact that, in my opinion, you didn't even need to take the title off of Brock Lesnar to begin with. If you wanted to have a champion versus champion match at WrestleMania, why take the title off of Brock Lesnar, put it on Bobby Lashley, just to get to this point? Yes, okay, you didn't have Bobby Lashley even insert himself in the match, so therefore it's not like he took a pinfall or anything like that, which is better, right? And I will say that's why I say I give them points for the fact that you didn't have him go in there and just get squashed by Brock Lesnar, right? Or anything like that, so of course that's better, but it's still shit, right? It's still a shitty situation. We've seen people go through shit 10 times worse in the chamber and continue the match and be fine. Bobby Lashley, I don't know. The whole thing, it was not impressive to me at all. And it was so obvious the second it was announced that he wasn't returning, that Lesnar was winning. And then literally Lesnar just ran rampant through everyone, except for Austin Theory. They did give Theory a few moments, and the F5 that he took off of the top of one of the pods was pretty cool looking, I guess. But I don't know. It really took me out of it because I don't think that Lesnar needed the title here again. I don't think that it needs to be a champion versus champion match, unless you're going to unify them. If not, then what is really the point of a winner take all if you're just going to go the route like the Becky 2 belts, for instance, right? Like, Becky is going to be the champion for both Raw and SmackDown, but she can lose one of the titles at any point if that title is being defended in that match, right? So it's just kind of, I don't know, and I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but and it's a weird thing because I don't hate it, but I just feel like it's just preventing and eliminating so many opportunities for a lot of other wrestlers and a lot of other younger talent that they need to be focusing on. But at the same time, I do get it. Brock Lesnar's a big star. Brock Lesnar, especially this version of him, is really entertaining. And I guess they felt like they needed everything that they could thrown into this match to make it as big as possible. But I don't know, guys. I'm not thrilled with Lesnar winning the title. It leaves a lot of questions left on the table. Like, what do you do with Lashley going forward? Yeah, so I don't know. And I think Monday Night Raw is going to hopefully answer some questions and maybe paint a better picture for us, and we'll get a better idea of the layout going forward. But I don't know. I'm not thrilled with it, but I understand it at the same time. But let me know what you guys think on Twitter at ASHMANNS. And of course, the show's podcast is at KickAshPodcast_. I hope you guys continue to have an awesome weekend and stay safe.